Here to discuss that possibility, my former congressional colleague. He was metaphorically called the giant killer when he dispatched the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Dan Rostenkowski, back in 1994. Now, the president of Flanagan Consulting, Michael Patrick Flanagan. Good to have you back on America's Forum, Mike.
Always glad to be here with you, JD.
So, the government shutdown. What do you think? Should there be a long-term bill, or should there be a continuing resolution that runs till about February 1st?
Well, Congress was arguing about whether or not certain tax breaks should be extended in short-term or longer term. The president threatened to veto that concept, so I think they're stuck with something that'll get them just into next year, and that's the right way to go. Shutting down the government is not a good idea. Politically, it never redounds to our benefit, but governmentally, this kind of craziness need not happen. We can get ourselves through the next few months into the next year and get the regular budget cycle going without great harm to the Republic.
Of course, our friend Peter King was arguing that, gee, this funding should go clear on through till next September, saying there are other battles, other questions that need to be fought. But you differ with that approach.
Yeah, I think that there are a number of tax issues. The Senate is writing a bill now, the Senate Republicans are, and actually the Senate Democrats came through with what they were almost had done was a pretty good tax bill that the House almost was ready to play with, and they could have done something real well with here at the end, and the president threatened a veto on that. So I think they need to just get through and have this tax fight early, get it over with, but without the specter of a government shutdown, and then they can move on and budget the nation.
We talked before, of course, as you grew up in Chicago, and of course, as Barack Obama made his home in Chicago following graduating from Yale Law School, you kind of have some insights into the way that our current president thinks. Perhaps we would call it the Chicago way. So you've got the unilateral action on amnesty. You've got a Congress dealing with funding. What is at stake here for President Obama? What do you think he is trying to do politically right now?
I absolutely believe he wants to maintain the initiative. He wants to be in charge. He wants to be the center of all things. And it's not going to work out that way. This government is run by Congress. The Article 1 branch of our government is Congress. Article 1, Section 1, all legislative power is vested in a Congress. Congress runs the show in this town and runs the government, essentially. The president implements laws, and for him to continue to want to be at the forefront of the legislative process, which is essentially what he wants, is fighting a battle he frankly can't win without really wielding the veto pen every third day and doing executive orders. The government places great trust and confidence in the administration to run foreign policy, and he would do better to focus on that, train wreck though it is around the world, so that he could actually make a mark there. And that's where most presidents make their mark, because that's the place they have the widest latitude of influence and power.
About a minute remains in this segment, Mike. Let's return to Congress and to the organization that you and I belong to, the House Republican Conference. John Boehner expected to hang on his position, but a lot of grumbling amongst conservatives and backbenchers. Is there any threat out there to the Boehner speakership?
I don't think so. And I'll tell you, I think John's a terrific guy, and I think he's going to be a great speaker for at least another term. Henry Hyde once said to me, I was sitting on the House floor having a terrible time with a series of votes that I absolutely couldn't bring myself to do, but we had to govern, and there were some votes that were very tough for me. And Henry sat next to me and patted me on the knee and said, "What's wrong, Mike?" And I told him, and he says, "I have a problem with these votes too, but I'm going to vote yes." And I said, can you do that? And he said, "You can't." And I said, "I have trouble with it." And he says, "You need to find new work." And I said, "Goodness gracious, Henry, what are you talking about?" And he says, "Compromise is our business. You move the needle as you can. You can't change the world overnight, and you shouldn't imagine being able to do it. Legislation that works like that is very bad." So I think there are a lot of Tea Party members particularly who need to learn that lesson.
And we will take that under advisement. I hate to cut you off right here. We're going to bring you back. More with Mike Flanagan on the other side of this break.